Developments in these past few weeks, many of us are paying extra attention to security and intelligence around the country. One person who does that on a regular database is Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Mike Rogers. 24 News 8 political reporter Rick Albin is here, and you spoke with him, Rick.
Actually, we're about to speak with him live from Washington. Congressman Rogers, of course, Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Lots to cover. I want to start with Syria, one of the hot spots around the globe. President says today Syria's potential use of chemical weapons is, quoting here, going to be a game changer. How big a problem is Syria right now?
Huge, Rick, and for a whole host of reasons. One, it's destabilizing to the Middle East. Think of a country like Jordan, where nearly half of its population is being overrun by refugees from the Syria conflict. Lebanon has the same problem, as does Turkey. And what's concerning is we have literally thousands of al-Qaeda members now joining the fight in Syria. We have Hezbollah in the north, another terrorist organization. They all want to get their hands on chemical and sophisticated conventional weapons. This has been deteriorating for about 18 months, and this is serious trouble both for the region and I think for the national security of the United States.
There is the global issue, and then there is the issue right here at home. We saw it in Boston. We now understand these brothers may have had designs on carrying out more terrorist attacks in New York City. Did we know more about these two, or should we have known? Or are we going to find out that we knew more and maybe it just wasn't disseminated properly?
Well, you remember how this started. So the Russians sent basically a letter, and it didn't have a lot of information in it, but it said that they suspected them of being radicalized or in the process of being radicalized to jihad, to commit acts of violence in the name of their religion. And so that's all they had. So the FBI opened up a case and tried to decipher if that in fact was true. And remember, the Russians and their intelligence service are a little bit hostile to the FBI and CIA in years past, so there's still a little tension there. So they did their due diligence, found nothing, and wrote back to the Russians and said, is there any more information? We can't find any derogatory information. Remember, this is 2011. They ended up closing the case and never heard back from the Russians on this particular case.
Congressman, I'm sorry to jump around, but there's so much ground we want to cover with you. And
absolutely.
One of those is a conversation you and I have had for a long time. Cybersecurity. You told me years ago about your concerns about cybersecurity. Just last week, you were able to pass a bill that would take significant steps on being able to look into some of those cyber threats. On one hand, it created security. On the other hand, it created a lot of suspicion from people who think it would give the government too much rein into our cyber life.
Well, the good news is it doesn't go into your cyber life at all. It's 100% voluntary. This is really the 911 system for cyber attacks. It allows the private sector, when you're under a cyber attack, to kick that to the federal government so they can find out, is it Iran, is it Russia, is it China, is it organized crime, and do that in a way that doesn't have any of your personal information on it. That is incredibly important. It's not a surveillance bill. The CIA, the FBI, the NSA will not be monitoring domestic networks. A lot of myths and mythology about this bill. Very protective, 4 different layers to make sure that your private information is protected. But at the same time, it allows now for the first time for the government to share what it knows about cyber threats that are coming. Can't do that today. And it allows the private sector, if they want 100% voluntary, if they get a little piece of that nasty source code, to share that with the government so we can go back to its original source and try to do something about it.
Congressman, we could spend the rest of this news hour talking with you, but I've only got about 30 seconds left, and I hate to give you such a little bit of time, but talk to me quickly about North Korea. It has not been on the radar screen as much in the last few days because of some other events, but North Korea is still troublesome.
Very troublesome. You know, they've got their missiles in an up and ready position. They have threatened to use them. We don't know where his end game is. We're not sure when he will not commit an act of violence. I think so far we've pushed them as far as we can to say that we're serious about this. But I will tell you, the world is watching what the president does on Syria. He drew a red line. If he doesn't follow it, North Korea will take note, and so will Iran.
Congressman Mike Rogers from the House Intelligence Committee Chairman, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.